Welcome to middle school closing ceremonies in the 229th year of our school. Before the 8th graders come in this morning, I wanted to take a minute to thank a number of people who helped with today's closing ceremonies. So first, Ariel Kitsch for making the slideshow that we started by watching. And then I wanted to thank three parents in particular, Laura Milstein, and Maddie Vaz, and Anna Backer for putting together that beautiful video. And Tab, Debbie, and Joanna Pickett do a lot to help all of the music come together for the ceremony, so thank you for that. Finally, I want to have a big thank you for Elle Hausman, who put together today's program and manages so many of the logistics. So one thing I forgot to talk about yesterday at our final meeting for worship was I wanted to make sure there was a culmination to the 6th grade service learning project this year. Our 6th graders every year for the last 4 years have worked with an organization called H2O for Life. Where they learn about water accessibility and availability in different parts of the world. And they did a remarkable job this year and raised over $4,000 for a school that they partnered with in South Sudan. And that the money that they raised and the awareness that they raised are going to help to not only put a well into the town, but also bring toilets to a place where people are going to be able to use them. And that is a very real change that they've created for a community, and we're really proud of that effort. So I wanted to take this up. So we're gonna now welcome the 8th graders in short processional, and I'd just like to ask that everybody hold their applause until everybody is in the meeting house. Chelsea Backer and Julia Barkley. Corinna Burnett and Cleo Kalamanopoulos. Jake Rocco Denise and Abraham Desir. Denise DePasca and Colin Donnelly. Clarence Duncan and Curtis Edwards. Leo Fleisen and Devin Friedrich. Lucas Gaffney and Cosmo Gigante. Walter Goldberg and Nina Greenblatt. Andrew D. Harsh and Bianca Howell. Alania Hinkson and Cynthia Howell. Carrie Johnson and Kira Kwok. Matthew Lindell and Ben Lindsay. Madeline Lerner and Henry Lieber. Amanda Liebman and Sophie Lord. Sarah Lyon and Charlie McKenzie. Lauren Makoff and Piper Morrison. Cleo Morrison and Aiden Moses. Lily Pitchbeck and Maggie Jacoby. Sophia Raymond and Jessica Robbins. Chloe Rosencrantz and Dennis Sedley. Jordan Shepard Smalls and Henry Sikora. Amelia Smith and Aaron Sprigman. Caitlin Starr and Amari Taylor. Ginger Taylor and Lucas Vogelman. Jackson Wakefield and Isaiah Weeks. Nate Weisberg and Francis White. And Martine Wilkinson and Caitlin Wilson. We are going to start today's program with a song from the middle school chorus. So I think we have our first set of 8th grade memories next.
Okay. Alright. As I drove to school, I was nervous. My first day of kindergarten. I thought I was just about as old as I could get. I got to school very early, and the only person there was a kid at least a foot taller than me. He was in the courtyard shooting basketballs by himself. My mom told me to introduce myself to him. I prepared for this moment for weeks. I took one step toward the mysterious creature and quickly decided that it was far too nerve-wracking. I told my mom that I would make other friends, but she was set on this one kid. She dragged me up to the basketball player and said hello. My mom asked if I could play basketball with him. He politely said, of course. My mom said, well, this is Henry, and you are? He responded, I'm Jeremiah. I'm in the first grade. Our jaws dropped. Another fear sprinted into my innocent little brain. Are they all this tall? I thought to myself. I expected the worst. Would I be the tiny kid? The one whose cubby is too big? I was only 3'5" at the time. I knew I was small, but I was honestly expecting puberty to strike at any time. I cleaned my mind of all of these terrible thoughts and played basketball. Every shot that I took barely grazed the bottom of the net, but Jeremiah was dropping them. We played for a while, and when class was going to begin, I said, goodbye, friend? He chuckled and said, definitely. I started off to class. To this day, I will always remember my first day of kindergarten, and I'm also still far too small to fit into my cubby.
Let's face it, school is stressful, hard, and when asked for work, your first reaction is not fun. However, when I think back at my time with friends, great memories come to mind. Dancing around the halls with my friends and forgetting all of our worries for those brief seconds of bliss. Rapping to alphabet aerobics in the talent show and thinking the latest knock-knock jokes. Singing High School Musical on the bus to softball practice. Eating sour straw before every volleyball game. Learning Latin vocabulary by putting it to the rhythm of a song stuck in your head. Or even just finding a little corner of the school and talking amongst your friends. In addition to these memories, I have many fun experiences with the faculty, like walking to school and Ava giving you that welcoming smile, then yelling at you for not dressing appropriately for the weather. Being in an English class with Mr. Byrne, making jokes, and at the same time, teaching me more about writing than I ever thought I would be able to know. Biking up the Hudson River for service day with Elizabeth and the rest of the Grossi posse. Singing the 12 Days of Christmas in all school assemblies, attempting to top each other grade by grade. Without the push of my teachers, I could have never realized my full potential. Without my classmates, I would have never learned the importance of true friendship. With this great sense of community, I've learned a lot. But most importantly, gained a perspective on the person I want to become. I know it sounds silly to a lot of you, having a 14-year-old stand up here and tell you that she's learned so much about life. And although I have a long way to go, I can honestly say, what little I do know comes from my experiences at Friends. Okay.
I guess the first thought that comes to mind when I think about Friends is community. I think there are a lot of ways to tell an 8th grade memory, but I decided to just go with one that I dedicate to my friends and this community. So as many of you guys know, the 8th grade takes a trip at the beginning of the year to a place called Camp Mason. And it's basically supposed to be a bonding experience between the new and the old people in the grade. And so we went up to this hill, and there was this huge fire. And we all sat around these benches, and we sat in silence. And Stefan, our history teacher, got up and said the most beautiful thing And to be honest, I can't even remember the basic gist of the speech, but we all just listened and stared at the fire, listening to a crackling pot. And in that moment, sitting in silence with my best friends, surrounded by people I had known for 9 years and some I had just met that September, I realized why silence is so important. Sometimes, in the best moments, no words need to be said and just need to be appreciated. Sometimes, in morning meeting, we goof off and we make faces, but I know in that moment, I couldn't have said anything better than what the silence said. Of course, after a time of silence, someone made a weird noise and everyone started laughing. But now I understand what community is. It's a family that we get to choose, and I'm so grateful that I chose these people to be my makeshift family. During the year, I went through the annoying yet educational process of applying to other high schools. When I decided to stay at Fred's after hugs and, oh my gosh, yay, I'm so happy, I always got the same question: why did you decide to stay? It's a difficult question because, to be honest, I'm not quite sure. I guess sometimes I think I chickened out of leaving or that I would miss my friends too much. But at the end of the day, I think that it's because I got to look at all these amazing schools, and that it made me realize that through all the homework, drama, late nights, and fights between good friends, that sometimes you need to step away from what you have to see how amazing it really is. At the end of the day, the people who you call your friends are the people that I would consider my family. My really, really weird, crazy, wonderful family.
As you enter Friends Seminary, you are walking into the 3 best years of your life. Larry Carter will be your 6th grade homeroom teacher, and he will make you feel better about being you, with the reminder that you are a new part, and the other kids are old parts. You all smell the same. iPads are a new experience, and you'll complain about your gigantic G-form cases, but don't forget to appreciate the resources you receive at Friends. Although you won't like all the books that you read in English, the way Craig teaches makes even the dullest books exciting. Your buddy Amelia will drag you into playing on the soccer team, and you will not win a game or score any goals, but it will be a lot of fun to kick balls through the puddles and make the other teams squeal. Although you will never come first place on the track team either, the bus rides to the meet, back to school, will make everything better. You will be terrified of having Mr. Shorts in the 7th grade, but he turns out to be a nice guy and makes Latin fun. Buy a stapler for Elizabeth's class, and do not forget 2 spaces after the period. And do not forget that Massachusetts ends in an S and non-BS. Warren's advisory will be your chance to forget about academics and just have a good time eating blondies. In Penny's class, you'll put your heart and soul into connection pages to go that extra mile for the super pass. On the softball team, you will take a chance and decide to be catcher. It will be difficult and painful at times, but you will learn to love the position. Do not stand in front of Adam when Julia and Sintra dump water onto him at your last game, and tell Amelia to take off her cleats when she climbs on top of the human pyramid. Do not forget your sweater during finals week, and do not get too stressed. As you enter 8th grade, you do not know this yet, but it will be your last year at Friends. There will be some days when you lose, some days when you do not get the test score you want, and days when nothing seems to be going right. However, your years at Friends will change you for the better, even if you cannot see it happening. You will try to juggle everything, and through this, learn how to prioritize and manage your time better. You will learn the importance of taking chances and hard work and finding new friends along the way who will support you through your ups and downs. So although you will not have everything figured out as you leave Friends Middle School, Friends has set you up on a path to be the best person you can be.
Well, to be honest, I've only experienced Friends Seminary for 2 years, 7th and 8th grade. I can't call these years the best years of my life, but I can easily call them the most diverse. I found myself in all kinds of binds in just these 2 short school years, from crazy train delays to being face-to-face with problems and even heartbreak. Back at public school in Brooklyn, my school record was clean as could be. I remember how hard it was to transition and the difficulties of trying to make good friends under the new environment. The lessons and things I've learned about myself are innumerable, but the amount of times I've applied these lessons, unfortunately, are not. I've learned that it's simply impossible to please everyone. I've learned how delicate one's feelings can be when under attack by people you once called friends. I've learned to somewhat respect people despite their differences. I, myself, have undergone a major metamorphosis. Of course physically, but more mentally. If my thoughts and ideas from last year and now could be laid on a freshly purchased canvas, they would show little to no similarity. I hope and wish to be successful in high school despite the social and/or academic odds that will chase me through the Friends hallways. I pray that God will protect me from descending into an inescapable darkness that will devour my heart. I hold little to no interest in being remembered at Friends for the years or decades to come. I simply care about my own journey into the beautiful nightmare that can be known as life. And to the many young ladies and gentlemen that come after me, I wish them the best, and for them to learn these lessons quicker than I could. It's not goodbye because I plan to stay for high school, but it's a thank you to Friends for putting me through good and bad in this journey of finding myself.
When I first came to Friends in 6th grade, I was afraid, not of anything in particular. That's just the way I had grown up. I came from another school, from a life where everyone had to fit the same stereotypes, and if you were different, you paid. Any new ideas, any self-expression, any attempts to try to change things were trampled into the ground and left to die. This is how I lived my childhood, and this is the mindset with which I came to Friends. I loved the school. I could tell right away that it was a different place and that I would be accepted and loved here. But still, I was afraid. I never tried anything new. I tried to just live my life in a tiny, quiet place I had been in for the last 6 years. If there was the slightest doubt in my mind about something, I didn't do it. I never went to parties, never did what other people were doing, never ate anything for lunch but half a turkey sandwich toasted. Much of the way I lived was irrational and had nothing to do with its original causes, but I spent my 6th grade year in deep fear of doing anything I hadn't done before, including making any permanent friends. But slowly I did start to change. I met fantastic people in the school. For the first time, I was challenged by my classes, and for the first time, I felt human. I slowly began to show who I truly was, both to other people and to myself. My confidence has grown because of the atmosphere here at Friends. I think the moment that I truly stopped being afraid was this fall, when I had first joined the sports team. I was the goalie on the 7th and 8th grade boys soccer team, and I remember being in practice the afternoon before we would leave on our trip to Camp Mason. Towards the end of the practice, I dove to the left to save the goal, and did sort of save it, but I also fractured my left ring finger. I was devastated. The urgent care people told me that I absolutely needed to see an orthopedist the next day, and there was no way I could go on the trip without being cleared. So I went to see the orthopedist, and she told me that my hand would be okay, and seemed quite confident about my ability to have gone on the trip, but of course the bus had left hours before, leaving me stranded in New York, and thinking about all the fun my classmates must have been having without me. But towards the end of the appointment, I could sense that my dad was thinking of something. As we left the hospital, he confirmed my suspicion by saying that if I wanted, he could rent a car and drive me out to Camp Mason that night. Of course, I was very surprised to hear that. Immediately, my mind said no. I started thinking of all the millions of things that could go wrong, and I was about to tell my dad that there was no way that it was possible, that it was too risky, that I should just stay home and feel miserable. But then something just clicked in my brain that never had before. I realized that this was actually possible. And it took me a minute or two, but I eventually realized that going might actually be more fun than staying home and hoping. So I said yes, and I went. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Those 2 days at Camp Mason were 2 of the happiest of my life. And now I can tell what Friends has really taught me. I've learned to take risks. I've learned that the safest thing to do isn't always the best, and sometimes feeling comfortable is not the same as being happy. The environment that this school creates has allowed me to realize that I shouldn't always let my fear control me. And that is a lesson that I hope I carry with me until the day I die.
So much of me is made for
In 2011. There were only two sections of you then, 5L and 5E, and your homerooms were right next to my office in Hunter Hall. I didn't know any of your names, and you really didn't know me either. You were really smaller versions of yourselves then, just like the slideshow we watched earlier today demonstrated. Playful, friendly, curious, earnest, sometimes silly. Some of you used to climb the lockers and the gallery walls. Some of you were prone to lovingly bickering with one another. You were iPad pioneers, or guinea pigs, as some of you like to say, as was I. We made a lot of mistakes. Your feet didn't touch the floor during eating, and every day, one of you would sneeze right in the middle of it, like clockwork. You must have been as nervous as I was in my new school. In those first days, I wondered how everyone knew to just settle into silence and worried that one day it just wouldn't happen. I scarcely knew you, but you helped me to learn your names and always welcomed me into your classes for conversation. In that year, we grew more comfortable together. But time passes, and each year you've grown and morphed. In 6th grade, 18 of you joined us, followed by another 3 in 7th grade, and a few more of you this past year. And along the way, we've lost some of your classmates as well for different adventures. You don't climb the lockers anymore, mostly. You don't get sent out of class for giggling like you used to when you were 10, mostly. And mostly you also take your studies much more seriously. Your friendships have changed for the better, and in ways you may not have even predicted. You've taken on new challenges such as joining teams, learning new instruments, or taking upper-level courses. And you become more socially aware and make it a priority to talk to one another about the stuff that matters to you and to the world. Inequity, racism, gender norms, feminism. Earlier this spring, when we hosted Derek Day in the middle school, your passion in discussing and wanting to break down stereotypes was notable to everyone and demonstrated that you have been learning to live the mission of our school. You have set a high example for leadership in the middle school this year. All of these great changes aside, some things absolutely stay the same. And this one thing has always been true about you. You are kind. Kindness is the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. And you demonstrate this almost every day. Every class certainly has its own unique characteristics. But from the very first day I met you, I was struck by your kindness. I noticed how openly you helped me to get to know you and to understand the chemistry of your class. When I supervised SNAP, I remember a couple of you would willingly join me to ask me how my day was going, which I felt was so sweet. And you'd tell me about everyone in the grade, their likes, their dislikes, the funny things you did together in lower school, how to remember each other's names. You had a special maturity in understanding each other's idiosyncrasies and enjoying them together. You were warm and empathetic toward one another, and there was an openness and a generosity in your sharing. You demonstrate kindness in so many ways. Yesterday at our ice cream social, and in reading so many of your middle school memories, and as you shared today, a number of you spoke about your first days at Friends Seminary, whether they were in kindergarten or just this year. You talked about what it was like to first meet one another and start up at a new school, perhaps the scariest thing for somebody to do in middle school. Many of you reflected on how you felt welcomed and accepted by each other at the scary and uncomfortable beginning. Whether it was somebody's bubbly laugh, or their interest in the same band, or their basketball skills, you newbies felt enveloped in kindness. And from what others shared, it was clear that this respect was mutual. You were encouraging to one another, and in doing so, you learned to trust and got to know one another. You made space for your friends' families to get warmer and bigger each year. Another example. Recently, in your memories, one of you reflected on the tradition of decorating God's Love with deliver bags each year with your family and friends at school. You noted that while the annual event began in kindergarten feeling very much something like an art project, you've learned over time that helping other people teaches you what it is like to be privileged enough to go to school like friends. And I have one more example. Last year, our beloved Mr. Schwartz reached the awesome milestone of retirement. You were a rambunctious group of students in Latin 7. You clearly adored Mr. Schwartz, but maybe not Latin, and certainly not your Latin homework. Mr. Schwartz and I talked about that a lot. But as the end of the year quickly approached, you began to buckle down, understanding the greatest satisfaction you could bring Mr. Schwartz as he moved on from friends would be a demonstration that you could embrace your learning. And then you created a very special tribute for him. You filled a beautiful scrapbook with photos and memories, and wrote about the things that you learned from Mr. Schwartz over the course of the year. And a couple of you wrote him an adorable song about the short E that you sang for him just about a year ago today at our last meeting of worship. You were so generous with your praise and humble about your learning. And in doing that, you showed respect and a love of Latin in your affection for Mr. Schwartz, as you've done in so many of your classes. If I were to survey your teachers and peers, they would all land on this term to describe you, among so many others. Kind. Sometimes it feels like kindness is in short supply in our world at large. A few years ago, author George Saunders gave a commencement speech in Syracuse, where he noted that what he regrets the most in looking back on his life are what he called failures in a lack of kindness. Moments when another human being was there, suffering in some way, and he responded sensibly, mildly, reservedly. What he did was encourage graduates to always err in the direction of kindness. Why? By being kind and compassionate to others, we uphold our responsibility to humanity. We help others to fit in through some of the hardest years of growing up. And by understanding difference in our world, we're able to keep our minds and hearts open. This demands kindness. And this consideration also helps us to learn more about ourselves. Being thoughtful in this manner allows us to see someone else's perspective and to be empathetic. Do not think that kindness makes you a weak person. In fact, being warm-hearted and caring demonstrates confidence and generosity. So another way to put it is, as Maya Angelou says, people will forget what you did, but people will not forget how you made them feel. So be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. I hope you will keep carrying this value forward as you begin high school. Sometimes when we get busy or worried about our own success, we forget to be nice to one another. Try to remember that your kindness will serve you in learning about the world. It will not interfere with your success. It will actually allow you to keep building community. Your empathy and your understanding will enable you to collaborate and draw upon each other's strengths, and in this way, you will discover more together. You will ask more interesting questions. You will notice more things, and you will develop a sense of inner purpose that will fuel your learning for life. So, some of you will find yourselves at a new school come September with many new teachers and faces. And for those of you who are leaving Friends Seminary for high school today, we will miss you. Saying farewell on a day like today is so bittersweet. But you have so many exciting adventures ahead and great memories to take you forward. We will look ahead to the days that you come to visit, and you will know that in our eyes you will always be a part of this Friends class and the Friends Seminary community. For those of you who will join the Friends Seminary class of 2019 next year, the best is yet to come. We hope all of you, regardless of where you go to high school, will always hold on to your curiosity and that you will make the most of the opportunities that you are afforded. I hope you will see high school as a new adventure and a means for learning more, but not as a burden. Embrace the challenges before you, knowing that you can do it. You are the lucky ones. And most importantly, when the situation calls for it, engage with your heart and your imagination as generously as you can. You have the skills you need to succeed, but you also have the intrinsic inclination to make a difference. You are ready. I want to end my remarks by sharing a benediction that I've been sharing now for the last few years, and I think it resonates so much with the foundation of our school. Go in peace, speak truth, be thankful for every day, and focus on what is good. Be quick to compliment liberally, be slow to speak words of judgment, and if you do it discreetly. Be led by your faith and not by your fear. Be kind, live simply, live of service. Give yourself to a cause bigger than yourself. For if you do these things, you will do justice, find courage, be confident, and walk humbly. Thank you, congratulations, and best wishes.
When I look out on the faces of so many parents I've known for so long, and I see the joy and the nostalgia and the slight tweak of sadness on your faces as your children go forward another year, and I listen to the incredibly moving music, then I see the students in front of me, and I think about the future of the students behind me. Not only am I very proud, but I'm very grateful. It's always my privilege to do promotions at this time of year, and I would ask the 5th grade to please stand. By the authority vested in me as principal of Friends Seminary, by the trustees of the New York Quarter of the Religious Society of Friends and the Friends Seminary School Committee, and with the approval of the faculty and staff, I hereby promote you to 6th grade. In 6th grade, would you please stand? By the authority vested in me as principal of Friends Seminary, by the trustees of the New York Quarter of the Religious Society of Friends and the Friends Seminary School Committee, and with the approval of the faculty and staff, I hereby promote you to 7th grade. And would the 7th grade please stand? By the authority vested in me as principal of Friends Seminary, by the trustees of the New York Quarter of the Religious Society of Friends and the Friends Seminary School Committee, and with the approval of the faculty and staff, I hereby promote you to 8th grade. And my good friends, 8th graders, would you please stand? by the authority vested in me as principal of Friends Seminary by the trustees of the New York Quarter of the Religious Society of Friends and the Friends Seminary School Committee, and with the approval of the faculty and staff, I hereby promote you to 9th grade. If everybody would please remain seated for the recessional.